What advice would you give for the younger generation of today?
Just not to be despondent when you don't make that Craven week team or you don't get that contract. Just to really push on, because whether it happens or it doesn't happen, you're a better person for it.
Injury time that you experience, that's the tough times, and that builds character and that helps you to become a better rugby player, a better person.
And I had a thing that I used to motivate myself, okay, I'm gonna try again today. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Then I'll try again the next day and then the next day.
I was quite surprised to see the signing over to the Bulls.
I think the frustration from the management and just everyone in the whole, also from myself as well, with the injuries that I sustained.
Probably one of the most challenging things to do is to break into professional rugby. So, was there any challenges that you faced?
Definitely it had its struggles. I think the biggest struggle is
Hey guys, we've got Nama here with us today. Welcome Nama, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you on here. If you can just give us a quick overview of a bit of your journey, what's your name, who do you play for currently, and yes, that's good.
Yeah, Ronaldo, pleasure to be on here. So my name is Nama Xaba. I am from KwaZulu-Natal, from a small town in the northern part called Craven. I just currently moved to the Bulls 2 months ago, but I spent pretty much my whole professional career at Western Province under the Stormers. It's the past 8 years, and I'm at the Bulls now.
Cool. So I was quite surprised to see the signing over to the Bulls. So can you give us a bit of a insight regarding that decision and why you decided to move to the Bulls after spending such a long time at the Stormers and obviously Western Province? And you were successful there. So what was the big decision to make that move?
Yeah, sure. There were a lot of factors, with the move. Firstly, I had a fair of successes, winning the URC during the junior age groups. We won Currie Cup. But I think, all in all, the big thing was, I think, the frustration from the management and just everyone in the whole, also from myself as well, with the injuries that I sustained. I just got injuries, I think, at pivotal moments where I could have, gone the next step, but things didn't come into fruition as we had hoped so. And I don't think it's not my fault, neither was it the union's fault. It was sort of a decision to, maybe see what I'm not doing right in my professional career or in terms of my professionalism, and just maybe try somewhere else and see if I could, just put on a few games and build up form to where I actually want to be. But I'd say it was mostly frustration of the injuries. And the way rugby works, also a business at the end of the day. The union makes an investment and there has to be some ROI on that investment. And if I'm being honest with myself, I think I probably didn't bring as much ROI on the investment that I had made on me. And as I said, I don't think it's their fault, so neither is it my fault. It's just very unfortunate with the injuries.
Yeah, that's part of the game. I've also had fair share of that setback, and obviously going through that, it does obviously make it difficult. But let's go back to the beginning. How did you get into rugby? What was the key kind of inspirations and guys that helped you get to that point where you decided you want to become a professional rugby player?
Yeah, so I started playing rugby when I was 6 years old. And first was in primary school, Nuwe Republiek, which is in Vryheid. My older brother played. I had no reference of the game, but I remember the first time I played rugby, I was a big kid in primary school, much bigger than the other kids. So obviously, how Peliki's rugby is, he automatically would have the advantage. But I had no reference. We had a coach, Mrs. Krobler, and she just, I remember the first game I played, she stood underneath the poles and I didn't know what to do. I think they first gave me the ball and I just chucked it away and what am I doing with this? It's no, you need to keep the ball and okay, and then do what with the ball? Okay, run to me, I'll be under the poles and don't let anyone stop you. So they gave me the ball, I ran to her and I didn't let anyone stop me. And then when I got to her, now what? And she said, okay, put the ball down. So I put it down. And then all my other teammates were celebrating with me. Obviously I'd scored a try, but I didn't know. And I think from that day, I was just oh, I want more. This is nice. You just get to run over people, smash people and all of that. And, it's celebrated. Yeah, and it just carried on. Started watching the Springboks on SABC 2 hours after it plays on DSTV. That. So you had to be quiet and hear the neighbors scream and like not know what's going on, and then you watch it. And then I saw the Springboks doing well. And then I saw guys like Richie McCaw. And I was like, yo, this is actually what I'd like to do with my life. Yeah. By God's grace, I'm here now.
I mean, you obviously went to Glenwood High School, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
How would you say your journey was from school to becoming a professional rugby player? I mean, it's obviously probably one of the most challenging things to do is to break into professional rugby. So, I mean, was there any challenges that you faced, and how did you navigate through those challenges in the beginning?
Yeah, I think, like you mentioned Glenwood, and I think I was very, very fortunate to have gone to Glenwood at that period. And if maybe you track back, the guys who went to Glenwood from like 2008 till about, 2018, 2019, there's actually a lot of guys who have actually made it into the professional setup, even Springboks. And I think they ran a program back in the day at Glenwood, in that era, like called the Sports Academy. So if you had a bursary of some sort, like a sports bursary, like maybe a water polo, cricket bursary, then you'd actually, there's pros and cons to it. You'd miss, bits of the first lesson because then they'd get coaches and like professionals to come coach you in the mornings, and then you'd have like your normal after school training, and then it just gets like more and more intense by the time you reach first team level. So I think going into the professional environment, I had a bit of a taste of what it takes to be professional. I mean, we had people coming to talk to us about nutrition, talking to us about sleep and all of that. So already in high school, it was a bit like accelerated. So by the time I got to Western Province Institute, things like testing, like physical testing and all of that was something I'd done since grade 8, and some guys were like not used to it. So I think that sort of gave me an advantage. It just sort of felt like school accelerated a bit going into the professional environment. Obviously, you don't have to go to lessons and all of that, and you're just like giving rugby a full go. So yeah, I think definitely it had its struggles. I think the biggest struggle, as I mentioned before, wasn't like the hard work and all that, but we're just like navigating around like, the injuries and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, just touching on obviously the injuries, rugby careers are filled with ups and downs. I mean, what's the toughest moments you've experienced in your career, and what did you do to get through those moments? I mean, from my perspective, I mean, you build up a lot of resilience, and I always say that when I speak to them on this podcast, and I know a lot of rugby players build up resilience, and that injury time that you experience, that's the tough times, and that builds character, and that helps you to become a better rugby player, a better person. So, I mean, from your perspective and your kind of experience, what was those lessons that you took from that?
Yeah, sure. It's one of those things where you can only learn it once you like obviously have hindsight and look back, like actually I went through that and I could do that, and this is where I am now. But at the moment, obviously it's horrible to go through it. Maybe I might just touch on like the toughest injury I've had. I've had like some really like weird ones. This one time my surgery went wrong and I almost had to amputate my foot during lockdown. But
Wow.
The biggest one was having to do surgery on my spine at 25. So a disc popped out and it blocked the nerves to my leg, the sciatica nerve, and I couldn't really use my left side of the leg. Couldn't even like stand up on my toes. And I thought it was gonna pop back, but it calcified in the nerve, so I had to do surgery to cut that disc out. And then I didn't know if I was going to play rugby again. Obviously, if you did a fusion, then that would be it. But there's still a little bit left. But I think with that whole thing, there was, with the other injuries, like you might do an ankle, you can do upper body, do a knee, upper body, do a shoulder, you can still cycle. The really, really difficult thing with this injury was that like throughout my whole career, I was studying at UCT. So whenever I'd get injured, it would actually, as inconvenient as it is for the rugby side, was convenient because then I'd actually catch up with my studies and, I'm on track to graduate. But this happened when I just finished studying and I was like, okay, I'm giving rugby a full go, to not being able to do anything at all. I wasn't allowed to, the first 2 weeks, I wasn't allowed to walk. All I could do was just like sit on the couch and do like some nerve stretching exercises just to wake the nerve up. And then after that, all I could do was walk for about 2 months. So I just like walk. And then all these other things, like the other injuries were sort of like fun in a way, because then you could occupy yourself with other things. I could go study, I could go gym, I could do this and that in the rehab. But this rehab was like literally you can't do anything. You need to get like integrity of your back and the structures, back in place, or else you never recover. And I think it just taught me, like now in hindsight, to really like appreciate and love the process of how things are done without thinking of the end result. Because I also didn't have, when you do rehab, you have a timeline. They tell you, okay, you've done your ankle, do the surgery, 3 to 4 months. I didn't have that because I didn't know if the nerve was going to fire again. So I was just literally taking it day by day. And I had like a thing that I used to like motivate myself, like, okay, I'm going to try again today. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Then I'll try again the next day and then the next day. And then obviously that compounds. And like, yeah, very grateful that I'm back playing now, getting back to my best. So yeah. That was the challenge.
Right. I mean, you touched on it a bit earlier with obviously studying, which is a massive issue, I think, globally, with guys obviously ending their careers and then they don't have anything to fall back on, and then the depression hits and all of the bad stuff that goes with it. So, I mean, what did you study and how did you find that playing rugby or trying to become professional and obviously doing the studying as well? How important do you think that was in your journey as well?
Yeah, I think it's paramount, really. You have your exceptions, I'd say, who probably won't need to study, but they're just so rare in like a huge chunk of people who actually do need it. So I'd say like, and then you also, you don't know if you're going to be that guy or not. So I think it's the safest bet to study. And as well, like now with the universities, the Varsity Cup and all of that, which has really picked up. It's got more viewership than what Curry Cup does have now. I think it's like, you're actually putting yourself in the best possible position, like, with studying. And I think, like going back in the day, like people say, yeah, you have to study and all of that. It's like, you sometimes, like, as I say, like you don't take it like seriously because you just think, okay, I won't be the guy who needs it. But, you end up, like now I'm like very grateful that I did it. So what I studied was a BSc in geomatics, specializing in land surveying at the University of Cape Town. It took me 6 years to finish a 4-year degree. So excuse me. Yeah, took the scenic route. But yeah, I'm just very, very glad that like obviously I was like able to finish it. I think your question was like, what did I study and what were the challenges with it, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously studying and rugby, and you kind of been there for a while now. So what makes you get out of bed in the morning? What's your how do you stay positive and stay driven to get to that next level? What is the dream for you at the moment?
I think everyone who plays rugby in South Africa obviously would want to be a Springbok one day, so that's like still very much a dream. But yeah, there's a thing that Matthew McConaughey says about Hollywood and how he got his big break in Hollywood, that like obviously it's all you think about, it's all that you chase, but then like sort of like, I don't know how it works. Some like, spiritually whatnot, like things sense how desperate you are and then like you become a slave to them. So he said like Hollywood, you must want her, but don't need her. And I think it's very like, profound in terms of like, what we're trying to chase. Like that's what we want. That's what we work for. But like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen. What you can really control is, like things that are in your control, and that is your process, and I think that's sort of what the injury taught me a lot, was to really, really worry about the process, and what happens will happen. What doesn't happen won't happen. And you just need to, find fulfillment in the process that you do that obviously like brings joy to you. Because like, I don't think anyone would be playing professional rugby as just a job, because you have to love it, because there's some really like, the highs are very highs and the lows are very lows. And, that's what helps you, get through it. So I think, as cliche as it is, like you really, really like worry about your process and not really like what happens.
Yeah. And I mean, advice for younger guys. I mean, that's something that we're obviously passionate about with all of the stuff that we're doing at Octafield and Octafield schools. What advice would you give to younger guys that are in small towns, small schools, or maybe didn't get a break at some point in Craven week or Academy week, or kind of, there's a lot of challenges that obviously faces us in that times when we play. So what advice would you give for the younger generation of today?
Yeah, sure. Actually, it's a very good question. Like, what advice would I give? Sort of like to people who come from a similar background as me. I'd say I'm a man of faith, and like just when I think of all these memorials of like what this injury or that, you have to like okay, like God took me through this, and I think you gotta have like some sort of like faith, whether it's not like in Christianity or whatnot. but you need to like believe in, a higher power and that things like will obviously work out. And I think the thing with faith and hope is, the more that you have hope of like a vision or a dream that's obviously not tangible, but like you can sort of like envision it, the more real you're aligned with it, becoming true. And I think the big thing about that is, whether things happen the way that you had hoped they would happen or they don't, the fact that you're becoming that sort of person, going through those things, like working towards something, having that vision, it will help you somewhere else in life. So not necessarily everyone will become a professional rugby player, but I think the tools which you gain from the pursuit of it will help you a great deal in life. And I'm sure with you as well, with the businesses that you started, like, or even what you're doing now is through like your trials and, tribulations and triumphs through rugby. So at the end of the day, like through this, you're becoming a better person. And yeah, just not to be despondent when you don't make that Craven Week team or you don't get that contract, just to really like push on, because whether it happens or it doesn't happen, you're a better person for it.
Cool. And then difficult question, but maybe not so difficult. What legacy would you want to leave behind when you've kind of finished playing rugby and that kind of journey end? What legacy would you want to leave behind?
Yeah, in terms of playing and the way I play, like I want to be the best feature South Africa's had. Yeah, it's still like a dream. But like, I'm working towards, and yeah, hopefully it happens. But I just to leave, in terms of rugby, to leave the rugby environment like in a better space with the young people like coming through. As you said, there's still like so many challenges within SA rugby. So yeah, just the legacy of leaving it in a better place. I know it just sounds like cliche, but I think for me personally and for my family, I just want to, enjoy this because it doesn't last for long, and, make a life from it, like to use it as a source of life after rugby. So yeah.
Cool. And then obviously, but outside of rugby, it's always serious. But is there any hidden talents that you maybe have that no one knows about, or anything that you do different than others?
Sure. Oh man, I don't know about talent. Like, not obviously, I was a very strong academic in school, and I still think I'm more inclined to that side. So I think maybe, yeah, just that really.
Cool. Well, thanks for today, and thanks for joining the podcast. We really enjoyed talking to you, and again, we always love having these conversations and getting honesty from guys, and obviously trying to educate the younger generation, and also just getting people to get to know you a bit better. So thank you for joining us today, and good luck for the season. We're really looking forward to what you'll do this season, and hopefully that Springbok dream will come true. But if not, then at least I think you've done a lot of good work in your career up until now. But yeah, looking forward to what you're going to do this season, and yeah, hopefully we'll have you on here soon again at some point.
Yeah, thanks, Ronaldo, and yeah, thanks for what you're doing, and I hope it grows in strength. Yeah, and thanks for having me.